Prologue, the kingdom of the unspoken. In the beginning, before time had a name, there was only the ether of absolute truth. In this realm, thoughts did not need lips to be uttered, and concepts did not need form to exist. At the center of this universe lived the Word. The Word was not a sound made of breath and vocal cords. It was the cosmic blueprint of all things, the mathematical perfection of the stars, the emotional depth of love, and the absolute purity of justice. The Word was omniscient, looking down upon the mortal realm of Earth. From the high heavens, Earth looked like a beautiful but chaotic mosaic. The Word watched as humans struggled. They had language, but they used it to lie. They had hands, but they used them to strike one another. They had hearts, but those hearts were constantly broken by misunderstanding. They speak of peace, but they do not know what it tastes like. The Word observed. They write about love, but it is just ink on dying papyrus. They cannot comprehend perfection because they are trapped in imperfection. The Council of Light advised the Word to remain in the abstract realm. If you go down there, they warned, you will be bound by their gravity. You will feel hunger. You will feel pain. You will bleed. But the Word made a choice. To truly teach humanity what truth was, it could no longer remain a distant concept. The Word had to become flesh. Chapter 1. The Descent and the First Breath. The transition was agonizing. Imagine condensing the entire ocean into a single drop of water. That was what it felt like for the cosmic intelligence to be poured into a human womb. On a cold, unremarkable night in a dusty village called Oakhaven, a child was born. His parents, Joseph and Mary, were simple weavers. They named him John. The moment John took his first breath, he did not cry like other newborns. He gasped, suddenly overwhelmed by the sensory overload of the mortal world. For the first time, the Word experienced cold, the sharp bite of the winter wind against bare skin. Gravity, the heavy, crushing weight of the earth pulling him down. Limitation, a mind that used to span galaxies was now locked inside a tiny, fragile skull. As John grew, he was different. He didn't speak until he was 4 years old. The villagers thought he was simple-minded. But John wasn't foolish. He was simply adapting. How could he speak human language when his mind was still trying to translate the harmony of the universe into clumsy, limited words? When he finally spoke, his first sentence wasn't, "I want food." It was, "The stars are crying because they are so far from the soil." Chapter 2. The Weight of Mortality. By the age of 25, John worked as a healer and a teacher in the village. Having flesh meant he finally understood the human condition, not as an observer, but as a participant. One afternoon, a woman named Elena came to him. Her husband had passed away, and she was drowning in grief. In the past, as the abstract word, he would have viewed death merely as a natural transition of energy. But now, looking into Elena's red, swollen eyes, John felt a sharp, physical ache in his chest. He learned what a heartache was. It wasn't a metaphor, it was a physical tightening of the muscles around the heart. Tears, hot and salty, spilled from his own eyes. "I cannot bring him back," John whispered, holding her rough, calloused hands. "But I can assure you, his love for you did not vanish. It is woven into the very fabric of this world." John's reputation grew. He didn't perform flashy magic. His miracles were different. When he spoke to a beggar, he looked so deeply into the man's soul that the beggar forgot his hunger and remembered his dignity. When he touched a leper, he didn't just heal the skin. He washed away the years of isolation. The people started saying, "When John speaks, it doesn't feel like he is talking to our ears. It feels like he is talking directly to our bones." Chapter 3. The Confrontation with Chaos. However, the world does not always welcome absolute truth. In the capital city, a corrupt governor named Malachar ruled with an iron fist. Malachar survived on lies, manipulation, and fear. Word of John's influence reached the capital. People were refusing to pay unfair taxes, demanding just treatment, and refusing to hate their neighbors. Malachar saw John as a dangerous revolutionary. Malachar invited John to the palace under the guise of a peaceful banquet. The palace was a stark contrast to John's simple life: gold-plated walls, tables overflowing with meat, and servants trembling in fear. "They say you are the truth personified," Malachar sneered, swirling a goblet of wine. "But look around you, healer. Money rules this world. Power rules this world. Fear rules this world. Your truth is a luxury for the weak." John looked at the governor with deep, sorrowful eyes. He didn't yell. His voice was calm, like the surface of a deep lake. "Your gold will turn to dust, Malachar. Your power is an illusion born of your own terror. You lock yourself in this fortress because you are afraid that if you step outside without your guards, you are nothing. You are the one who is truly imprisoned." Enraged by the mirror John held up to his face, Malachar ordered his guards to seize him. "Let us see how your cosmic truth handles iron and whips," Malachar barked. Chapter 4: The Ultimate Sacrifice. John was cast into the deepest dungeon. The flesh that the Word had assumed was now subjected to the worst of human cruelty. He was beaten, starved, and humiliated. As he lay on the cold stone floor, bleeding and broken, the Council of Light whispered to him from the heavens once more, "Return to us. Abandon the flesh. You have proven your point. They are inherently violent. Let them destroy themselves." John closed his eyes. Every cell in his human body screamed in agony. He could easily let go, dissolve back into pure spirit, and leave this painful world behind. But then he remembered Elena's tears, the beggar's restored smile, and even the broken, fearful soul of Malachar. If he left now, humanity would only remember God as a distant, vengeful judge. They would never know that the universe loved them enough to bleed with them. "No," John whispered through cracked lips. "I will stay. If I do not suffer with them, I cannot heal them." The next morning, John was brought to the city square to be executed. A crown of thorns was pressed into his brow, and he was chained to a wooden pillar. The very people he had come to serve stood in the crowd. Some wept, but many, manipulated by Malachar's propaganda, shouted insults and threw stones. John looked at the angry crowd. He did not feel hatred. He felt an overwhelming wave of compassion. "They don't know who they are," he thought. "They are stars who have forgotten how to shine." With his final breath, John looked up at the sky, and then at the crowd. He spoke his final words, not with anger, but with a resonant, earth-shaking melody. "It is understood. You are loved." Epilogue: The Eternal Resonance. When John's heart stopped beating, something extraordinary happened. There were no earthquakes or darkened skies, but a profound, undeniable silence fell over the entire land. It was the same silence that existed before the creation of the world. In that silence, every person in the crowd felt a sudden warmth in their chest. The anger melted away, replaced by an acute awareness of their own actions. Malachar dropped his goblet, suddenly gripped by a remorse he couldn't explain. The guards dropped their weapons. John's physical body was buried in a simple stone tomb. But the Word did not die. By dying as flesh, the Word had permanently altered the human experience. The Word was no longer a distant concept in the high heavens. Because it had become flesh, lived, wept, and bled, it was now woven into the very DNA of humanity. It became the quiet voice of conscience in every person, the sudden urge to be kind to a stranger, and the strength to endure suffering. The story of the Word became flesh is not a story of a tragic end. It is the story of how the infinite universe decided that you, in all your messy, fragile, human imperfection, were worth dying for, so that you might understand how to truly live.